Most videos just talk about how you should have discipline and willpower.
Waking up at 5 AM, Pomodoro timers and cold plunges.
I don't do any of that. I just show up, even when no one's watching, even when I don't feel like it.
But I didn't start that way. Discipline took me 2 years, and I still mess it up sometimes.
This video isn't about hacks, it isn't about willpower, it's about the real process. How I built discipline by making games one day at a time, and how you can do the same. Why discipline was hard at first. I used to bounce between projects. Some days I'd code for hours, others nothing. I'd wake up, eat breakfast, and then just play games for the rest of the day.
Sometimes I watched a course to feel productive. Sometimes I opened a Notion page. But let's be real, I wasn't building anything consistently. I'd get excited about a new idea, start strong, and then burn out. Then I'd play games all day until I had another idea, and repeat the cycle.
It wasn't just that I lacked structure. I was frustrated, because deep down I knew I could do better. I knew I could build cool stuff. I just wasn't doing it. And that hurt more than anything.
For months I stayed stuck in that cycle, playing games, feeling guilty, trying to fix it again, failing again. I probably watched dozens of videos about discipline. I took notes and made plans, but they all treated work like punishment, something to force your way through.
Eventually I stopped asking, how do I force myself to work? And started asking something better.
How do I enjoy the work I want to do?
That mindset shift didn't flip a switch, but it gave me a new direction. For a while, I still had to push through. For the first year, it was mostly willpower, forcing the habit to stick. To sit down and plan my days, to sit down and start working on my game. Some days were slow, and some days a lot got done. But slowly, that resistance started to fade. The habits became natural, and the work started to feel enjoyable. Now, I build my games for fun. It's not about discipline versus laziness, it's about genuinely enjoying the process.
But it all started with shifting how I thought. And these 3 changes made the biggest difference.
The first shift was simple, but kind of brutal. I started tracking my time.
I thought I was working a decent amount, until I saw the truth. Most mornings I do an hour or 2 of focused work and then waste the rest of the day on YouTube or gaming. Some days, literally nothing got done.
But here's the thing. I didn't beat myself up about it. I didn't try and shame myself into working harder. I just watched.
And as I watched, I noticed something. Some days I actually could work for 4 or 5 hours, and when I did, it felt amazing. Not just because I was productive, but because I felt proud afterwards. That feeling of finishing the day and knowing I really showed up became addictive.
Eventually, those days weren't rare anymore. They became the norm.
Now there are days where I work 8 to 10 hours on my own projects, not because I'm forcing myself, but it feels so good afterwards. Like I'm actually doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
And it all started by simply tracking, becoming aware of what I was actually doing with my time.
I switched from stay free to toggle track later on. Now I track my entire day, not just screen time.
The goal isn't to track forever, it's just to wake up, to see where time is going and then take it back. I built routines that didn't rely on motivation. Once I saw how inconsistent I was, I realized something kind of obvious. I needed a routine. Not a motivational playlist, not a productivity hack, just a routine that didn't rely on how I felt in the moment.
Before I had a real routine, I tried copying what productivity YouTubers were doing. Waking up at 5 AM, having the perfect morning routine, but I just couldn't keep up. And when I failed, I felt even worse. So I started small, adding 1 habit or routine at a time. First few weeks before bed, I do journaling. Then for a few weeks after school or work, I worked out. When I got that under control, I moved on to taking a cold shower every morning. At this point, I was planning the entire next day before I went to bed. None of this had anything to do with game dev at first, but it built discipline like nothing else.
And slowly, I started doing the same thing with my work. I gave myself 2 to 4 hours every morning to work on something important. Be it game development, a course, or a school project. These focus sessions every morning completely changed how I work. I could get multiple features done on my game in just a few hours. No switching tasks, no scrolling, and if I did, no guilt, just get back to where I was. The most important thing was just showing up every single day, no matter how small.
It didn't happen overnight. Some mornings were a mess. I just gave up and played games instead, maybe came up with some weird excuse. Some weeks I slept completely, especially when I got sick or had no energy after school. But I kept coming back. It could take a week or a month sometimes, and over time I didn't need to force myself anymore.
It actually started to feel fun. I wasn't fighting my routine, I wanted it, because it was working.
Now, 2 years later, I meditate, eat breakfast, and then just sit down and begin. It's not about feeling motivated, it's about making discipline the default. And once that kicked in, everything else got easier.
I accept that discipline isn't binary. I used to think discipline meant never slipping. Like if I skipped a day, I'd failed. If I wasn't perfect, I wasn't disciplined. But that mindset actually killed my consistency, because as soon as I messed up, I felt like I had to start over completely again.
I turned one off day into a bad week. Now I know that's not how this works.
Real discipline isn't being perfect. It's about being able to bounce back faster. Some days I really don't feel like working. And sometimes I might push through it and still do it. But other times I just take a break. Guilt-free. Go for a walk, play something, watch some YouTube, let it go. And then the next day, I usually crave coming back.
That's the rhythm now. Not 100% every day, but never letting zero become the normal. Missing one day isn't failure. Quitting for 2 weeks is.
And I've learned, even those off days, they have value. They give me perspective. They make me realize how much I really love making games. And when I return stronger.
What changed the most wasn't my willpower, it was my mindset. Consistency beats intensity every time.
Even now, there are still days where I really don't feel like working. I wake up tired and unmotivated. I don't want to open up Unity.
But I've learned not to fight it. Instead, I start with the absolute simplest thing. I just open Unity. Open Visual Studio, press play, look at the project and play around. That's it.
No pressure to fix anything, no expectation to build something new, just checking. And most of the time, that is enough to get me going. And sometimes, all of a sudden, I worked for 2 hours on my game, even if I went in with no real intention of actually working.
Momentum builds from small wins, not from forcing it.
What it feels like now. Now I don't need hype or hustle. No intense music, no 5 AM wake up montages.
I just start.
Because I've done it enough times that starting now feels normal.
It's not about being excited every time. It's about knowing this is what I do now.
Some mornings I feel clear, energized and sharp. Other days I feel kind of off. But either way, I show up. Because that's part of me now. Even now, some of the most important decisions are the tiny ones. Like choosing to sit down for 5 minutes instead of scrolling. That tiny choice is usually what snowballs into real work.
And when I finish even a small tasks, I get that quiet feeling of progress. That I'm doing what I said I do kind of feeling.
Last week, I fixed a bug in my cooking game with the plate logic. And it took about 2 hours to actually fix. But fixing that bug and then seeing it actually work, that feeling is amazing. It's not perfect, but it works. And that's discipline. Takeaways. If you struggle with discipline. If you're struggling to stay disciplined, especially if you're building something alone, I get it. But here's a few things that actually help me. Things you can start doing today.
Track what you're really doing. Not what you think you're doing, what you're actually doing. Use an app like Toggle Track, Stay Free, whatever works, and just get honest with yourself.
Awareness is the first win. Once you see your patterns, you can change them.
Create systems that run without you feeling motivated. Instead of waiting for motivation, build habits so small they're automatic.
My system started with journaling, cold showers and workouts. Not even related to game dev at first, but it did give me momentum. And now I use the same system for coding. I don't need to be on fire, I just need to open the editor and start.
Don't aim for perfect days. Aim for no 0 days. A perfect day is great, but you don't need perfect. You need progress. Even if it's just 10 minutes of work, it still counts. Because the goal isn't to never fall off. The goal is to always come back. Track your time, build your system, forgive yourself, then do it again tomorrow.
I'm not perfect. I still miss days. Sometimes I procrastinate and sometimes I game more than I should. But the difference now is I don't beat myself up about it. I built a system that I enjoy coming back to.
Because the real key to discipline, at least for me, wasn't guilt or pressure or forcing it. It was making the work feel fun, making it something I look forward to. And once that happened, showing up got way easier, even on the off days.
So no, I'm not some productivity machine, I just love what I'm building. So if you're on your own creative journey, whether it's games or anything else, just remember this: discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about building something you care enough about to come back to. Now, close this tab and go build something you're proud of.